Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast with KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and Najee Moye.
Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast. He's Najee Moye. I'm Niko Tamurian. Najee, go ahead. Just get it out of your system.
I have nothing to say. Look, I can tell you, I think I tweeted on my burner Twitter account that I won't
You have a
disclose
burner
right
Twitter
now.
account?
I won't disclose it. I may be the most hated man in Seattle right now, honestly.
I still love you, but
Yeah.
if you tell me what your burner Twitter handle is.
We'll talk about it off camera. No, but we're talking, of course, because the Seattle Seahawks are now 3-2.
Yeah.
Because of,
and I think they're going to be okay.
And I think they'll be okay. Here's the thing. If you've been watching this podcast for a while, you know that I'm a New York Giants fan, hometown team,
Sure,
and been a Giants fan all my life. And you know that I also picked the Seahawks to beat the Giants by 2 touchdowns this past week, as any
reverse psychology.
As any sane human being would do. I have questions. I have feelings. The Giants have the same record as the San Francisco 49ers right now. I want to point that out by saying that. Niko, you were on the field. Mm-hmm. Explain to me what you saw with the Seahawks 29-20 loss to the Giants.
Yeah, so this is what we love about this show, right? That
right.
I'm on the field, I'm talking to the players, I'm in the environment. It's really a cool opportunity for us as KOMO News to be able to bring this to the Seahawks fans everywhere and kind of give you that inside information. You're the one in my ear telling me what to do. And I gave you a shout out on 4 o'clock.
I appreciate
Monday.
That. Yeah.
And I think that what I saw in this game was concerning because let me bring this to you in a couple ways. Okay. What concerns me
there's a lot to break down about this game.
For a second straight game, we saw the Seahawks defense just get gashed. Except it wasn't by a high-powered Lions attack this time. It was by Daniel freaking Jones.
Okay.
This time around. And before and chime in a sec, please. But
go.
The other thing I just want to get this out there that really concerns me is the offense had another slow start. Now, that was okay in Bo Nix's first career start. It was okay against a team like the Patriots, who's been really haphazard. It was okay against the Miami Dolphins team that is really reeling without Tua. It was too much to overcome against Detroit, although they picked it up much quicker than they did against the Giants. The reality becomes you can't have either, and you have to figure it out soon. Otherwise, it becomes a point I made on the Niko Sports Zone page at KOMOnews.com. Were the first 3 games a mirage? I still hold out hope that they weren't, but the question has to at least enter your head after you look at that 3-0 start being Bo Nix's first career start, the Patriots who look awful, you needed overtime, and the Dolphins who are probably still a good team, they just don't have Tua, and so they're just really an utter disarray right now. Those were the 3 wins. The first big test was Detroit. Detroit got the better of you. You should have been able to beat New York, who, correct me if I'm wrong, I looked at New York's schedule and I said, listen, they're probably better than the 1-3 record indicated. They lost to the Commanders before we really knew how good the Commanders were. They look really good right now. You lost a close one to the Dallas Cowboys, who are always going to be decent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like these were, and you lost to the undefeated Vikings. A blowout, but the Vikings are beating everybody right now. So I kind of looked at that. I'm like, well, this is going to be somewhere in the middle. I just didn't think we'd see the same issues for the Seahawks resurface, given the scientist that Mike McDonald is. And I love the level head he's saying. He's like, listen, your record is your record. We're still a franchise that is 5 games into this new regime, and we got to figure it out.
Yeah, and you said it, 5 games into the new regime. That's very important. This is, you'll see sometimes coaches get 2-3 years before they even get to getting things in motion. The Giants kind of play to maybe the Seahawks' weakness. The Seahawks had a lot of guys out on defense.
Right. Well, you get Uchenna Nwosu back for like 2 series, and he gets hurt again, and he's out against the Niners.
But what we also saw is we saw a 3rd-string rookie running back in Tyrone Tracy, who I'm high on, run for about 129 yards. No one has run that much for the Giants all year. I can tell you that much. Separately from that, we saw Seahawks offensive line that gave up 7 sacks. Now that being said, when you have a team like with the Giants, when you have Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns, this is a team that's made to get out to the quarterback. However, 7 sacks for the Giants, it says that there's not just problems, up front, but there's problems back behind as well,
Yeah, I think that, we talked about that Lions loss a week and a half ago where you think about, okay,
Geno was running for his life.
Yeah, exactly. and the line continues to be an issue. Yes, you're without Abe Lucas, and that hurts. But I mean, you can't have what we saw.
No,
You can't have that.
And I predicted the Seahawks to win by 2 touchdowns, and and that was off of the strength of their offense from the Detroit Lions game. 2 high-powered offenses going at it. The Seahawks defense was struggling to keep up because any team would. The problem is the Seahawks didn't score an offensive touchdown in the first half.
Right. Well, they didn't score until almost the 2-minute warning.
Exactly.
He had the Rayshon Jenkins fumble return, and that was it.
Yeah.
And that's concerning to me. And you're talking about all these injuries piling up. You're talking about your third game in 10 days when the Niners come here.
Yeah.
And again, Coach McDonald, I really admire and appreciate the mindset. He says, hey, you know what? Nobody cares. It's the NFL. There's no such thing as an asterisk. Well, the Seahawks are 3-3, but they played all 3 losses in 10 days. If they were to lose this game Thursday,
right.
There's nobody who's going to say, well, you had injuries. Everybody has injuries. So I appreciate that mindset and approach. But you suddenly you need to stop this from spiraling.
Right.
And you look at the schedule, and we're not going to look much past the Niners, obviously, because then it's another 10 days to get the Falcons. But I mean, these games, like the New York game that you could have won, that you on paper should have won. There's no such thing in my book of should have won a game because you got beat. Somebody punched you in the mouth like the Giants did.
Multiple times.
But there's got to be a concern. Do I have faith that Mike McDonald is going to turn this around? Absolutely. I really think it's way too early to be panicking.
Yeah.
I think this whole season, nobody wants to hear this.
Right.
But this whole first season is a learning experience. Now, the hope is that obviously you figure it out sooner than that. But, as we mentioned, I have faith that they can turn around because we are so early. But you're not human if you're not at least concerned by some of these trends that we're starting to see. With the slow starts and the defense getting gashed and that sort of thing.
Here's the thing. The Niners game this Thursday is a must-win game for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
It's been all division games you want to win, obviously. Mm-hmm. This is a Niners team that is under 500. This is a Niners team that, for whatever reason, I'm not saying Christian McCaffrey is the whole entire offense. He's a big chunk of it. And for fantasy football players, you know that he has not been playing.
And you picked him first overall, probably.
And you picked him first overall. And he's got 2 Achilles tendon problems that the Niners did not mention. By the way, I'm not. But no, for the Seahawks, this is definitely a must-win. It's on Thursday night. You're coming off of 2 tough losses. I mean, the Lions loss is tough, and losing a game on a blocked field goal for a touchdown is rough. It's rough for any team.
Yeah.
Great play by Isaiah Simmons, by the way.
Yeah, which was legal, by the way, and I thought it was interesting to point that out. That we just give you a little inside baseball here, and not a lot of fans know this. So when there's a controversial call like that, we have what's called the pool reporter.
Mm-hmm.
They pick one reporter out of the entire Seattle media, and that person kind of becomes a liaison between us with our questions on a controversial call. So right now it's Brady Henderson, the awesome writer for ESPN that covers solely the Seahawks. And the NFL rules expert said that was legal because the Seahawks long snapper was pushed down by the back. So that he didn't really, even though he did jump, it was getting through the line and he was pushed down. Right. And Mike McDonald said as much on the new week. He said, listen, we got to be better in technique, and technique meaning don't let some guy push you down.
There was a couple blocked field goals this past week in the NFL. It's kind of crazy
several.
To see. And that's great insight talking about the rule, because I was like, this is a great play. However, some people are going to be curious about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you? Here's my thing. What I love that the players said to us after this game, Naj, was that they wish they could play that night. Like, they were so angry. They're so upset.
Right.
They know they did not play a good football game.
Right.
And that's not to take credit from the Giants. So I think, again, as I mentioned earlier, are better than people give them credit for. But
you don't want to make Daniel Jones look like
no. So how do you, in essentially 3 days off? They're not off. You're practicing.
Right.
You're beat up. You're battered. You're bruised. And you just lost a game that you shouldn't have lost if you played your best brand of football. And now you got to turn around and you got to host your arch rival on a Thursday night with no rest.
It's
with injuries piling. Like, how do you do that?
Pure passion.
Yeah.
And this is definitely like you have to use some of that anger, and it can even stem back from the Detroit game. Honestly, I mean, it's been building. Honestly, just to punch the Niners in the mouth. After all, there's 2 straight games in Lumen Field. You can't go into a Lumen Field back.
No,
absolutely not. Especially against the Niners, especially on Thursday night. Everyone's will be watching that game. I don't know what the jersey situation is looking like. I hope it's not lime green.
That's been the Thursday routine, but that was also a Pete Carroll pick, like his favorite.
It's true. But no, I don't know if the Seahawks are going to get these guys back healthy in 3 days that missed the Giants game. I wouldn't bet on it. and you look at the Niners, and they're not having such a hot year either. But like I said, it's not because that's just Christian McCaffrey being out that they're just there's something amiss there, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not that sure what that is. That's the downside, though. They lost a tough.
There's something going on about the Niners.
They lost a tough game against the Cardinals, who I think are better than people think they are.
But here's, Najee, I know you've noticed this. The Niners, even, when they're going to the Super Bowl last year, they kind of sputter out of the gate sometimes.
They do a little bit, but, and you're only missing Christian McCaffrey. I know, but this guy, Jordan Mason, though, this backup running back, I mean, this offense that the Kyle Shanahan's been put out here, you can put anyone at running back. You can put me at running back. I run for 75 yards in the game. Let's be real. I run for like 100, honestly. But
I ran the 40 at the Seahawks in a full suit and dress shoes. It was like a 6.
Pretty good. In dress shoes.
You're like, it's for
No, because I remember seeing the video and I'm like, he was moving.
I was moving.
You were moving.
If I was in some basketball shoes, it would have been like in the lower 5s.
Dress shoes. Have you ever?
They were like difficult, yeah. They were like really narrow.
Exactly, yeah. No,
I did catch a few passes.
Maybe you can play on the offensive line this week. You'll be severely undersized.
I'm just gonna be like a turtle in a shell and just like, don't knock me over.
The Seahawks need some help, and I think Mike Macdonald is definitely.
I believe in Mike Macdonald.
I believe in Mike Macdonald. I believe in the leadership.
I
of Geno
believe
Smith.
in Mike Macdonald. Joe Henry, any fan?
Oh, I see where you're going here.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't expect it at
back.
first. The Rock did come back. We need the Seahawks to come back.
Yeah.
Seriously, Niko. What
you segued that perfectly.
What exactly can the Seahawks do? I mean, looking at the Niners, we know that Deebo Samuel's on the in Brandon Ayuk are on the roster, yes, but they're not they're not Brock Purdy's number 1 guys. Right?
Yeah.
It seems right now. If you look at the stats, what would you want to see?
I'd like to make sure Reek Woolen can play.
Yes, that was the number 1.
Yeah. He's just a game changer out there. I would also like to look at listen, when Darius Slayton is just kind of eating alive Trey Brown, and I think Trey's a good player, to the point where Mike Macdonald's got to turn to his 5th-round draft pick rookie Nehemiah Pritchett. I mean, that's where they had to go. And Pritchett did a nice job. He stood his ground. But that's not the ideal situation that you want your team to be in. And so for the Niners, who, all due respect to your New York Giants,
they're better.
Are better. They have more offensive weapons, even without CMC.
The record is the same.
Their record is the same. Hey, by the way, the Seahawks are still in first place.
That's true, and that's very important to note at this.
Let's not panic. Let's not call this an emergency podcast, right? They're still in first place.
This is not an emergency podcast. It was early because of the Thursday night game.
Yeah,
and it's not an emergency, but this is a great time to react. But I know a lot of Seahawks fans are just like, what?
Dude, it threw me for a loop.
What I definitely need the Seahawks to do is run the ball with their running backs more than 7 times.
Yes. See, that's the thing. You've got K9 and Charbonnet. Just keep running that damn thing.
I know. And the thing is, the Giants' offensive line, the Giants' defensive line is as good as it was against, the pass. It's a very thin defensive line. And to see that Charbonnet only got 2 rushes and Kenneth Walker ran 5 times for 19 yards is unacceptable.
And K9's so explosive. I mean, it's okay. 5 carries for 19 yards.
He did catch the ball.
Yes.
Yes.
I bet you if you had 10 carries, we're talking about more like 50 or 60 yards.
You just never know.
Because he's going to break one.
And the thing is, at the beginning of the Giants game, it was so close for a while.
Yeah.
And, I know you want to just always score points and kind of force it, but you kind of have to play a little bit of a chess match here, and just kind of like tease a little bit, like, okay, run, see what happens, Yeah. But obviously, I think they gave up too quickly for the run.
Yeah, I think that, okay, in the Detroit game, you're down 14-0, and you got to throw it all over the yard, and
exactly.
It was working. In this game, I feel like they tried to maybe go back to that formula, and Mike Macdonald said, he's like, Coach Grubb knows we got to run the ball more.
Right.
And especially because you have K9 and Zach Charbonnet, great.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that K9 was involved in the passing game that much, but the reality is the Seahawks are still built in that mold to run and stop the run.
Right.
As they used to say in the 90s. And so
they definitely did not stop the run.
No, you didn't stop the run, and you didn't even you could have run well. You just didn't give your guys a chance to do it. Yeah. So I think that the only thing that's in my head is like, okay, I look at this coaching staff, especially Mike Macdonald. I'm like, okay, they know this, obviously. They see it. They're going to fix it. The only issue in that regard, again, is the quick turnaround. And do you have enough time? And to that respect, I mean, maybe it's a good thing on the other side too that San Francisco's in a little bit of disarray, and you're meeting them on your home field.
I was gonna say it's definitely a good thing, only because you can't really a loss like that to a team you don't expect to lose to is gonna sit with you all week.
I feel like this is a game the Seahawks win, but then when they go to I almost said Candlestick, but when they go down to the Bay Area in mid-November, that would be the Niners will take care of business.
The Seahawks have to win this game.
They
have to beat the Niners.
It's not on paper must win, but to your point,
it's an emotion. You can't win through lose three. Especially for a first year head coach, a rookie head coach. It just doesn't look good. But that being said, the crowd at Lumen Field was rocking on Sunday. They'll be rocking again on Thursday night.
Yeah. It's dangerous. It's dangerous territory already. It's not time to panic. It's not time to, even if they lose Thursday, you don't punt on this thing.
No.
I mean, last year's team lost 4 in a row, and yet they were a Green Bay Packers touchdown away from making the playoffs still.
And that 4 in a row was against 4 really
good. It was against
teams.
Good teams. Yeah. It wasn't anything teams. Oh wow, they're getting upset by the Carolina Panthers or something, which they almost actually did last year. They had to outrun them at the end, but that was last year's team, not worthy of the mention right now. I have faith this thing will be turned around. Whether or not this Thursday is another matter. What do you think is going to happen Thursday?
What do I think is going to happen? Well, I definitely think they're going to run the ball more. I definitely think they have to protect Geno Smith better. I'm not even sure if those things can be solved in 3 days or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're dealing with a different sort of pass rush, or maybe a more exotic defense, better linebackers for sure, better cornerbacks for sure, and better offensive weapons for sure. Malik Neighbors didn't even play in the Giants.
You're going to be scared now. I had a pick in mind, but I'm like, oh, Najee.
I do think that the short turnaround will probably help the Seahawks, not from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint. Because as you said before, and you said this during my newscast, that a lot of guys just didn't even want to talk after the Giants game. And when you have that mindset, just I just want to go work out now. It's like when you lose a big game in basketball.
You just want to get right back out.
You want to get right back out there, exactly.
Yeah.
And luckily it's at home, and luckily you're fired up against this is your biggest division rival. Hawks by 3.
Ooh.
Check my tone when I say that. Hawks by 3.
Hawks by 3. Seahawks are going to win in dramatic fashion.
Yeah, and hopefully they figure out how to keep people from jumping over the offensive line for kicks.
Seahawks are going to win. I just don't
have a lot of faith in Brock Purdy this year. I don't know. I think not having Christian McCaffrey is not it's not a huge thing.
I think he'll be okay.
He'll be okay, but he's not winning. They're not winning 12 games this year.
I'm thinking about a score. The Seahawks are going to win in dramatic fashion.
Okay.
They're going to hey, we're back. Because they fight for this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, the outcome wasn't what anybody wanted.
Yeah.
But they fought back from 14-0 against the Lions. And what's lost in all this, because you lost, and it ultimately doesn't matter. But let's not forget, the Giants were up in this thing 23-13 with about 2:30 to go.
Yeah.
You score a touchdown. You force New York 3 and out. You use all your timeouts plus the 2-minute warning. Then you get the ball back, and you march down for what should have been forcing overtime. Then you got all the momentum on your side, and you have a good shot at winning this thing. Now, of course, the Giants had other ideas and blocked the field goal. An amazing play.
Great play.
But my point is, there's a lot of teams down 10 with 2.5 minutes to go that are kind of
they're out.
They're out.
No,
not that they're not trying, but they just don't have it.
I'll tell you, as a Giants fan watching that game last week, that even though the Hawks were up or down by 10, I was like, okay, but
yeah,
you're just waiting for it.
Yeah.
You know?
So to my point, I suppose it's similar to what you said, but there's no moral victories in the NFL.
No,
there's things you can take away, I suppose. But we've already known that about the Seahawks team, but they proved it again that they do fight to the final whistle.
They do.
Was it enough the last 2 weeks? No. But
no.
You know what? They're not quitting on this coach. And I think they're going to, battered and bruised, go into Lumen Field Thursday night, and they're going to win this game. I was just raising my voice for no reason. They're going to win this game 20 right now. I'm trying to pick a good score. 24-21.
Here's the thing. I think about whenever
Jason Myers from 58 yards to win it.
58? 50, hey, people, he can hit that.
You can hit it.
I think about what it's like when the Niners are in town, and it bugs me so much because they travel well. Seattle's not far from San Francisco, and
there's always a lot of Niners fans.
There's a ton of Niners fans around town, and of course, we should be nice to everyone. I get that. However, y'all got to pack the stadium out on a Thursday night. This is very important.
Yeah, you can't let that thing be red and gold.
This is deeply important. No, and there'll be a lot of red and gold in the stadium, though. I do think the Hawks will win by 3. I think they'll run the ball. I'm expecting a huge game from both K9 and Charbonnet because I think they'll go exactly opposite of what happened this past week against the Giants, and I think we're going to see more K9 like we saw against Detroit with his 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Geno Smith, he runs for his life. He's going to keep running for his life. I just don't know what to do with the offensive line on a 3-game turnaround. I like Geno, and he played well enough.
Yeah. He
got sacked 7 times.
He didn't have time. No. Especially there was the 2 4th downs they went for. The one at the end of the game that didn't matter ultimately.
Right.
But also earlier in the game, they gave the Giants the field goal at 23. Geno had 0 seconds to throw the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's not on him at all.
No.
So, Najee, I have a new segment I want to bring you.
Okay. This is a patented Niko surprise.
Yeah, like I don't even tell Najee about these things. I just kind of like, hey, I had an idea. You guys can't see off the camera right now. We have a photographer that is beloved here at KOMO that I've been working with often. His name is Austin Diaz. Austin, why don't you step in for a minute here because we are going to do this new segment. I didn't even tell you half of this. Boy, that is a risky move, ducking under that camera, but he made it.
He's got agility.
And then slide in, kind of duck a little bit lower if you don't mind. There you go. Now you're in frame.
Yeah.
So Austin,
engage that core. Austin.
Now I asked Austin, full disclosure, before we started the show, I'm like, hey, pick for the best bet segment, which is immediately following this. But Najee, College Game Day does like a celebrity guest picker.
Okay.
Austin's our celebrity guest picker.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be funny to just do like a different person at KOMO every week?
I think so.
Let's go and Phil. That's our boss. Go like Phil's off pick. Hey, you're a celebrity guest picker. Who's gonna win?
I love that.
Yeah, it would be great. So Austin, celebrity guest picker from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, loving the Pacific Northwest now.
Big
Seahawks, big chip. Yeah, cheesehead here. Where's your cheesehead?
Yeah, I should have brought it.
Who's gonna? If you can lean a little closer to Najee, there you go. I know I'm making him lean sideways.
That's okay.
Who is going to win? And give me a score: Seahawks or Niners?
I hate to do it, but I think the Niners are going to win it.
We have to have a devil's advocate here. Do you have a score?
I'm going to go 27-21 Niners.
So close game.
Yeah, close game. I think the Niners are going to score a late touchdown and just.
So 21-20 maybe, and then the Niners get the game winner.
Cruise into the end. Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe it's I like it. But it can happen. Like
that means both teams will be 3-3.
Yeah, and then be a whole cluster in the NFC West.
Yeah.
So as promised, Austin, we do our best bet segment. Hopefully I don't have that on live TV. And where we pick a game by the spread. Full disclosure, my record is 1-3 on this so far. And my only win was a 0.5 point Houston covering.
It counts.
It counts. Austin, who's your best bet this weekend?
I like San Francisco. I really do.
Favored by 3?
Plus at 3.5 right now.
Yeah, 3.
Minus 3.5.
Yeah, -3.
I like the Niners. Yeah, I'm gonna have to roll Niners.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Austin, how'd you like your KOMO Sports End Zone debut?
Oh, it was great. It was awesome.
I mean, you're just like career highlight stuff.
Yeah, honestly, probably up there, number 1.
You're gonna call your parents and your girlfriend.
Right
Not to mention the pull back he has right now.
He's literally like, he is like a finger poke away from just like tipping over onto Najee's lap.
That's true.
Najee, who do you got?
I don't know what the spread is. What is the spread for the Bengals Giants game? I'm feeling a real
Giants. Right, so here's actually Bengals are 3.5 point favorites.
Just because the Bengals are 1-4. Here's the thing. I set Joe Burrow on my
favorites
bench.
of the Bengals. Yeah,
really.
Yeah, Bengals are 3.5 point favorites.
Well, here's the thing. I set Joe Burrow on my bench last week.
Oh,
I know. Take the Giants.
Okay,
take the Giants.
I'm gonna go.
Not?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good bet.
We got the sweater on.
I'm going to go with the Lions favored by 3 over the Cowboys. I think the game is going to be a shootout. I think they're going to win it like 41-34 or something.
Were you not impressed with the Cowboys when they played Pittsburgh last night? Neither was I.
No.
I get
that. And I think the Lions are a Super Bowl contender still.
I agree. They look so good against Seattle. I hate to say it. I really hate to say it, but that offense, that running game, smash dash. I mean, it's a very well-rounded team, that Detroit Tigers team.
Hey, here's a question for you guys. Since you're celebrity picker, Austin, we're going to keep you out here just like they do on game day. Fantasy football advice. And what I mean by that is it can be, as we go into next week, which I haven't even looked at the lineups yet. I'm not going to lie to you because of the early Seahawks week. Is there a waiver wire pickup you like? Is there a player you're like, they're due for a breakout? Like anything comes to mind for the best fantasy football advice on this podcast?
No pressure.
Best fantasy football advice. Don't start Kyle Pitts. He's terrible. Brock Bowers. I really love Brock Bowers. I drafted him this year in both my leagues. I
was like looking week 1 for waivers. I'm like,
he had a really bad week 2 weeks ago, and then this week he had a really great week. He had like a 50-yard touchdown. I think he's just going to keep that rolling.
Yeah. Najee, you have anything?
Here's the thing. If you can find if you can find Joe Flacco available.
Yeah.
I don't know what Anthony Richardson's injury situation is like. I feel like he gets hurt every other week. Joe Flacco is like the guy he's like the guy from Napoleon Dynamite who can throw a football over the mountains over there, you know,
Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico. But Rico could put up 400 yards in the game.
Yeah.
And Joe Flacco all year last year he did that.
Mm-hmm.
He did that this past week, and I just don't see why not.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna give you some obscure advice
started-
because I did it in my own, not the station league, but one of my own teams I play with.
Right.
We know tight ends can be scarce, and I was an idiot and drafted Mark Andrews. I don't think it's an idiot. Like, that was a smart move preseason. It's just, but oftentimes, like, when a tight end gets hurt, you drop them unless they're like one of the studs like Kelsey or Laporta or whomever.
Is Kelsey a stud?
Well, not this year, but I think he will be now that the Chiefs, have some, like, Rashee Rice is out and all that stuff.
That's true.
But in my league, and it may not be, certainly I don't think will be the case in deeper leagues like our station league, but Evan Ingram,
former Giant,
but he's on the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Last year he led tight ends, or he was at least up there in receptions. Even his backup has been catching touchdowns, and Evan's certainly a more dynamic player. So that's my fantasy football advice. If Evan Ingram is available, go get him.
Very good advice. Very good advice. He's a great player, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jacksonville just won their first game too.
We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Hey, Austin. Did you ever think when you started your work shift with me at the Kraken Community Iceplex, did you think you were going to be on a podcast?
No, not at all.
Well, we appreciate you being on.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Najee. Seahawks are going to win, right? Get him out of here.
Man, I hope so.
Just kidding. I hope so too.
I hope so.
Hey, we appreciate you, Austin.
If they don't, goodness.
Najee, this wasn't an emergency podcast. It was an early game week podcast. We're going to join you on the normal scheduled time after the Niners game the following week when the Hawks are preparing for that 10 a.m. game at the Atlanta Falcons on the 20th. And the Bills come to Seattle to close out the month of October. You hope if you went 3-1 in the first quarter, you can go at least 3-1 in the second quarter. Maybe that would require you to win the next three, but maybe go 2-2.
Here's the thing, though. I said a lot of nice things about the Niners game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Buffalo and Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous. I'm nervous in the service.
I think those are both tough teams.
Those both tough teams.
You can win them, but they're tough teams. You can win it if you figure it out.
Exactly. They got to figure it out. They got only 3 days to do it. What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
Well, I guess we'll find out Thursday night. I'll be giving live reports at Lumen Field after the Niners games. I hope you check that out on the KOMO News YouTube page, both at KOMO News on the air as well. Again, that's what we love about this show. We give you some really exclusive insights to the Seahawks from being at the stadium, at the team facility. And where else are you going to get Austin Diaz's picks?
Nowhere else.
Right?
Right.
So for Austin, Najee, I'm Niko. This was the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we're talking about a Seahawks team that's coming off a big win and getting some rest before Atlanta. Take care, everybody.
Bye.